Emotions are the invisible language of the soul. They whisper truths that the mind often ignores. But most people treat emotions as intruders, something to fight, to hide, to suppress. They run from sadness, bury their anger, numb their anxiety, and chase happiness as if it's something outside of them. Yet the secret to mastering one's mood is not in escaping emotion, but in understanding it. Every emotion you feel carries a message, and until you learn to listen, you will live at the mercy of feelings you do not understand. Imagine this. You wake up one morning and feel heavy without reason. You call it a bad mood, blame the weather, or tell yourself you're just tired. But that heaviness might be your body's way of saying, slow down. Maybe it's your soul reminding you that you've been ignoring something important. When you learn to pause and ask, what are you trying to tell me? You start transforming your relationship with yourself. You stop reacting and start listening. This is where emotional mastery begins, in awareness, not control. Every emotion has a role. Anger isn't your enemy, it's your protector. It rises when your boundaries are crossed, when something you value is threatened. Sadness isn't weakness, it's the signal of loss, the way your heart processes change. Fear is not your cage, it's your guardian, warning you of danger or reminding you of unhealed wounds. Even happiness, which we chase endlessly, isn't a permanent destination, it's a moment, a reflection of alignment between your actions and your values. When you stop labeling emotions as good or bad, you start seeing them for what they truly are, messengers of your inner truth. People often ask, how can I control my emotions? But control is not the right word. Control means suppression, and suppression creates pressure. The more you try to push away anger, the more it grows. The more you hide sadness, the louder it echoes inside you. The goal is not to silence your feelings, but to understand their language. Ask yourself, why am I angry? What boundary was crossed? Why am I sad? What am I afraid to let go of? Why am I anxious? What uncertainty am I resisting? When you start asking questions instead of judging your emotions, you turn pain into wisdom. Awareness transforms reaction into response. A reaction is fast, unconscious, driven by emotion. A response is calm, thoughtful, guided by understanding. The difference between the two is a breath. That single breath, that pause, is where mastery lives. The next time you feel overwhelmed, don't speak, don't act, don't decide. Breathe. Let the wave of emotion pass through you. Feel it fully, but don't become it. Observe it like you would watch clouds move across the sky. The clouds change, the weather shifts, but the sky remains untouched. You are that sky, vast, unshaken, always there behind the storm. Most people live trapped in cycles of emotional reaction. Someone insults them, they feel anger and lash out. Something goes wrong, they feel fear and give up. A plan fails, they feel sadness and stop trying. They spend their lives dancing to the tune of emotions that they never take time to understand. But when you realize emotions are temporary visitors, not permanent residents, you gain freedom. You can say, I feel angry right now, instead of I am angry. That small shift in language separates identity from emotion. You are not your feelings. You are the awareness behind them. When you begin to see emotions as teachers, every experience becomes an opportunity. Anger teaches you about boundaries. Sadness teaches you about attachment. Fear teaches you about courage. Guilt teaches you about values. Joy teaches you about alignment. Life constantly communicates with you through these signals, guiding you toward balance, harmony, and understanding. But only when you are still enough to listen. Silence is the greatest tool in emotional awareness. In silence, you can hear the subtle movements of your mind. You notice the rise and fall of energy within you. You feel when anxiety begins to creep in, long before it takes over. You see anger forming before it explodes. That awareness gives you choice. You can choose to redirect it, to breathe it out, to channel it into something constructive. This is emotional alchemy, the art of transforming energy instead of resisting it. There will be days when your emotions feel too strong to handle. Days when your heart feels heavy, your mind foggy, and your body restless. In those moments, remember, every emotion has an end. No storm lasts forever. The waves crash, but they always return to calm water. You do not need to fight the storm. You only need to anchor yourself through it. The anchor is your awareness. It's the understanding that you can observe pain without drowning in it, that you can feel sadness without losing hope, that you can experience fear without running from it. To master your emotions is to master yourself. It means recognizing that emotion is energy in motion. It comes, it moves, it goes. Your job is not to stop it, but to guide it. When you feel anger, instead of shouting, you can express it through movement, creativity, or silence. When you feel sadness, instead of hiding it, you can allow it to wash through you and make you softer, more compassionate. When you feel fear, instead of freezing, you can use it as fuel to prepare, to grow, to act. Every emotion contains life force, and mastery means learning to use that force with wisdom. Sometimes emotional mastery looks quiet from the outside. It's the moment when you want to argue but stay silent, when you want to give up but take one more step, when you want to cry but breathe instead. These small acts of awareness are invisible victories, proof that you are no longer controlled by your moods. You become the calm center around which emotions revolve. You no longer resist them. You no longer chase them. You simply let them be, and in doing so, they lose their power over you. To live this way requires practice. Just as a river carves its path through stone, awareness carves peace into your mind. Each time you pause before reacting, each time you listen before judging, you deepen your understanding. You become more sensitive, more aware, more alive. Slowly, your emotions stop being wild storms and start becoming gentle waves that you can surf with ease. It's important to remember that emotional mastery doesn't mean feeling good all the time. It means having a peaceful relationship with all your feelings. You may still feel anger, fear, sadness, or frustration, but you no longer get lost in them. You understand their purpose, you allow them to move through you, and you return to balance. That balance, that inner stillness, is what gives you strength. The more you practice this awareness, the more you realize that emotions are not obstacles but pathways. They guide you to the parts of yourself that need attention, love, and understanding. Each emotion is a doorway leading inward. And when you walk through these doorways with courage, you find wisdom waiting on the other side. You begin to see that your emotions are not your enemies, they are your allies. They are the compass that points you towards self-mastery. One day, you'll look back and realize that the emotions that once controlled you were the very teachers that freed you. You'll understand that the pain you avoided was the key to your growth. You'll see that every mood, every shift, every wave of feeling had a purpose to guide you home to yourself. And in that realization, you'll discover a deep sense of peace that no external force can disturb. Because mastery is not about being unshakable. It's about knowing how to return to stillness after being shaken. It's not about never feeling pain. It's about no longer being afraid of it. It's not about suppressing emotion. It's about dancing with it. And when you finally learn that dance, when you stop running, stop hiding, and start listening, you will see emotions not as chaos, but as poetry. Every feeling, every mood, every shift becomes part of your inner music. Some notes are soft, some are loud, some bring joy, some bring tears, but together they create the symphony of your existence. You are not here to silence the music. You are here to learn how to listen. What you focus on becomes your world. Every thought is like a lens, and whatever you choose to see through it becomes your reality. You might wake up on the same morning as millions of others, under the same sun, breathing the same air, but what you choose to focus on will determine whether that day feels heavy or full of light. Most people believe their moods are created by what happens to them, but in truth, moods are created by where they place their attention. Focus is the silent sculptor of emotion. Think about it. When your attention is drawn to something painful, your body responds immediately. Your muscles tighten, your breath becomes shallow, and your energy drops. But if you focus on something beautiful, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of laughter, or even one small thing you're grateful for, your body softens, your breathing deepens, and your inner climate changes. Nothing outside has changed, only your focus did. Yet that small shift changes everything. The mind is a magnifying glass. Whatever you place it on grows. Focus on fear, and it multiplies. Focus on problems, and they seem endless. Focus on possibility, and your courage begins to awaken. Focus on gratitude, and life begins to give you more reasons to be grateful. Most people spend their days giving attention to what drains them instead of what strengthens them. They replay arguments, failures, or worries like broken records, wondering why their mood never improves. They don't realize that by focusing on the storm, they keep the storm alive. If you watch your thoughts for even a few minutes, you'll see how restless they are. The mind jumps from one concern to another, from the past to the future, from what's missing to what might go wrong. That constant movement creates unease. Focus acts like an anchor. It stabilizes the ship of your mind in the ocean of emotion. When you choose where to place your attention, you stop drifting. You begin to guide your inner energy instead of being guided by it. The power of focus is ancient and simple. Where attention goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, life grows. This is not philosophy, it's physics of the inner world. Focus on negativity, and your mind becomes heavy. Focus on growth, and you feel alive again. Every emotion, every state of mind is tied to what you are feeding with your awareness. Your focus is your inner diet. It decides the health of your thoughts. Imagine walking through a forest. One person sees the sunlight piercing through the leaves, the sound of birds, the rhythm of the wind. Another sees only the insects, the mud, and the shadows. The forest didn't change. The difference lies in perception. Life is the same way. Each day gives you both the shadow and the light, and your focus decides which one you live in. The mind has the ability to transform heaven into hell and hell into heaven, depending on where it chooses to look. When you wake up in the morning, your first thoughts set the tone for the entire day. If you reach for your phone and immediately consume negativity, bad news, complaints, comparisons, you start your day with chaos. But if you take even a minute to breathe, to express gratitude for being alive, or to remind yourself of one thing you want to improve, your energy shifts. That single act of mindful focus becomes a seed that influences every interaction, every emotion, every decision that follows. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing feelings, it's about redirecting focus. You can't stop a negative thought from appearing, but you can choose not to water it. Thoughts are like seeds, they need attention to grow. When anger arises, you can feed it by replaying the story of what caused it, or you can shift your attention toward understanding and calm. When sadness visits, you can drown in it by focusing on what's missing, or you can choose to focus on what's still here, what's still beautiful. Focus is a muscle, and like all muscles, it grows stronger with use. At first, it feels difficult to redirect attention. The mind resists, trying to pull you back to old habits, but with practice, you begin to notice the space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your freedom. That pause allows you to ask, where is my attention right now? Is it feeding peace or feeding pain? The more you ask, the more power you reclaim. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that even in difficulty, there's something valuable to see. A challenge can become your teacher. A failure can become your turning point. Pain can become your source of strength, but only if you focus on the lesson instead of the loss. Shift your focus from "why is this happening to me?" to "what is this teaching me?" and you will feel your emotions transform instantly. There's a quiet strength that comes from disciplined focus. You begin to realize that you are not your thoughts, you are the one who observes them. You can watch sadness without becoming it. You can acknowledge anger without acting from it. You can see fear without letting it dictate your actions. Focus creates separation between the observer and the emotion, allowing you to respond with wisdom instead of reaction. When your focus is scattered, your energy becomes fragmented. You feel tired, anxious, and unfulfilled because your attention is divided between the past and the future, things you can't change or control. But when you bring your focus to the present moment, to your breath, to the sensations in your body, you reclaim your power. The present is the only place where peace exists. The mind may wander endlessly, but focus brings it home. There's an art to choosing what to focus on. It doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending problems don't exist. It means acknowledging them without letting them dominate your inner world. If there's a storm outside, you can't stop it, but you can choose to look toward the calm horizon. That choice doesn't erase the storm, but it reminds you that storms pass. Focus is not denial, it's direction. It's deciding what part of reality deserves your energy. The mind is like a camera. It can zoom in on the problem or zoom out to see the bigger picture. When you zoom out, perspective returns. You remember that one difficult moment does not define your entire life. One failure does not erase your worth. One mistake does not determine your future. By shifting your focus from what's wrong to what's possible, you open the door for growth, healing, and change. Gratitude is the simplest form of focused awareness. It turns your attention from scarcity to abundance. Even in your darkest moments, there's always something, one small detail, that can remind you of life's beauty. The air you breathe, the sound of rain, the beating of your heart. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, it simply changes how you see it. And what you see, you begin to become. Focus also shapes your relationships. When you focus only on the flaws in others, you create distance. But when you focus on their goodness, their effort, their humanity, compassion grows. The same applies to yourself. If you constantly focus on your mistakes, you feed guilt and shame. But if you focus on your progress, no matter how small, you cultivate confidence and peace. Focus directs not only your mood, but also your connection to the world around you. In moments of chaos, focus becomes your refuge. When everything feels uncertain, you can always return to what you can control: your breath, your thoughts, your attitude. When you focus on your inner stability, the outer world loses its power to disturb you. You become like a mountain, still, grounded, unmoved by the winds of circumstance. This kind of mastery doesn't happen overnight. It's built through daily practice, through awareness, through the willingness to redirect your gaze again and again. Some days you'll fail. Your focus will drift back to old patterns, to fear, to complaint. That's all right. Every time you notice and bring it back, you grow stronger. Focus is not about perfection. It's about persistence. Eventually, you begin to feel a shift inside. You no longer wake up waiting for the world to make you happy. You wake up knowing that your happiness depends on what you choose to see. Even when life is uncertain, you feel steady because your attention is anchored in the present moment, not the past or the future. You stop chasing emotions and start creating them through conscious focus. You begin to understand that peace is not something you find, it's something you focus on. Strength is not something you're given. It's something you cultivate by focusing on resilience instead of resistance. And happiness is not something that arrives. It's something that emerges when you focus on what's already here instead of what's missing. The power of focus transforms your inner world. It allows you to turn noise into music, problems into teachers, chaos into clarity. You realize that your mood, your energy, your entire emotional state are not random. They are reflections of where your mind is pointing. The moment you shift that focus, you shift your life. So, each morning, ask yourself, what will I focus on today? The lack or the abundance, the mistake or the lesson, the fear or the possibility, because in the end, your mood is not decided by fate, luck, or circumstance. It's decided by attention. And when you learn to master your focus, you don't just master your mood, you master your life. Emotion is movement. It lives in the body before it reaches the mind. Every feeling, joy, anger, sadness, fear, is a vibration that travels through your muscles, your breath, your heartbeat. When your body is still, your emotions stagnate. When your body moves, your emotions begin to flow. This is why the way you move, the way you breathe, the way you hold yourself can transform the way you feel. Motion is the hidden key that unlocks emotional change. Think of how your body reacts when you feel low. Your shoulders drop, your breath becomes shallow, your gaze falls toward the ground, your movements slow down. The body becomes a reflection of the inner world. But what most people never realize is that the reflection works both ways. The inner world also listens to the body. Change your posture, and your brain receives a new message. Straighten your spine, lift your chest, take a deep breath. Your mind immediately starts to shift. You begin to feel lighter, stronger, more awake. It's as if the body reminds the mind of its power. When you understand this, you stop waiting for motivation to arrive. You stop saying, "I'll move when I feel better." Instead, you realize, "I'll feel better when I move." Movement precedes mood. You can't think your way out of heaviness, but you can move your way through it. Go for a walk, stretch, breathe, train, and you will notice how quickly energy changes form. The same anger that once burned in you can be released through a workout. The same sadness that weighed you down can soften through deep breathing. The same anxiety that spun in your head can find balance through calm, mindful movement. Your emotions are not fixed, they are energy in motion. If you trap that energy by staying still, it turns against you. That's why people who sit too long with their worries often find those worries growing heavier. The mind feeds the emotion, but the body holds it. Movement breaks that cycle. It lets emotion flow out instead of building up inside. A single moment of physical action, standing tall, breathing with intention, even shaking out your hands, can signal to your nervous system that change is possible. You might have noticed that when people are joyful, they move differently. They walk with rhythm, they gesture more, their faces open up. When people are sad, their movements shrink, they retreat inward. Emotion and motion are twin reflections of each other. You cannot change one without touching the other. This is why ancient traditions always combined movement with awareness, martial arts, yoga, meditation in motion, because they understood that stillness of mind arises not from suppressing body, but from moving it consciously. The breath is the bridge between the two. Every emotion has a rhythm of breath. Fear breathes fast and shallow. Anger breathes sharp and heated. Sadness breathes slowly and heavily. Joy breathes deep and smooth. The moment you change your breathing pattern, your emotion begins to shift. Breathe slowly when you are angry, and you calm the fire. Breathe deeply when you are anxious, and the storm settles. Breathe with gratitude when you feel lost, and you return home to yourself. You do not need to fight your emotions, you need to breathe through them. The body is wiser than the mind. It remembers what the mind forgets. When you go through difficult experiences, your body stores those emotions in your muscles, your chest, your stomach, your jaw. That's why you might feel tension or tightness when you're under stress, even if you don't consciously think about it. The body keeps a record, and the only way to release that record is through motion. When you move consciously, through exercise, dance, stretching, or even walking, you let the body speak. You let it release what it's been holding. It's not just movement, it's emotional cleansing. There is a difference between random movement and intentional movement. Random movement can distract you, but intentional movement transforms you. When you move with awareness, when you feel your breath connect to your motion, you enter a state of alignment where body and mind no longer oppose each other, but support each other. In that alignment, peace arises naturally. You don't force it, you become it. You can test this in small ways. When you feel anxious, place your hand on your heart and breathe deeply until you feel its rhythm slow. When you feel angry, go outside, take a long walk, and let the rhythm of your steps absorb your tension. When you feel sadness, stretch your body, open your chest, let your breath expand. Notice how every emotion softens when the body opens. That is the power of motion. It teaches you that you are not trapped inside a feeling. You are simply moving through it. Many people live disconnected from their bodies. They spend their lives trapped in the mind, overthinking, analyzing, comparing, worrying. They forget that the body is the first language of emotion. Before a single thought arises, the body already knows how you feel. When you reconnect with it, you reconnect with the truth beneath the noise. You start to sense what your emotions are trying to tell you. You move not to escape emotion, but to express it. Through motion, you translate emotion into freedom. Some days, the movement might be small, just standing and taking 3 slow breaths. Other days, it might be intense running, lifting, training until sweat becomes release. It doesn't matter what form it takes. What matters is that you remember this. Emotion needs movement. When you deny that movement, you deny healing. When you allow it, you create transformation. Even the simplest acts of movement carry power. Cleaning your space, walking in nature, stretching in silence, all are acts of self-regulation. When the mind feels chaotic, the body can bring it back to balance. You may not always be able to control your thoughts, but you can always control how you move. And once you change how you move, your thoughts begin to follow. The body leads, the mind follows. There's an old wisdom that says, when the body is still, the storm begins. When the body moves, the storm ends. It reminds us that movement is medicine. Every step you take is a step out of confusion. Every breath you take with awareness is a moment of clarity. When life feels heavy, you don't need to wait for someone to rescue you. You only need to move. Motion creates emotion, and emotion creates direction. When your body becomes a tool of awareness, you begin to understand that you are not separate from the world around you. The movement of your body mirrors the movement of life itself. Tides, wind, growth, seasons. Everything moves. Stagnation is unnatural. When you resist movement, physical or emotional, you resist life. But when you flow, when you move, when you allow energy to pass through you, you align yourself with the rhythm of existence. You can practice this even in the smallest ways. When you feel overwhelmed, instead of collapsing inward, stand up. Feel your feet on the ground, let your spine lengthen. Take one slow, deep breath and feel your chest rise. Let the air fill you like light. Move your arms gently, stretch, rotate, feel your body come alive. That single act tells your brain, I am not trapped. The moment you remember that you can move, you remember that you can change. Motion is not just physical, it's also mental and emotional. Sometimes movement means shifting your perspective, changing your focus, or stepping out of an environment that keeps you stagnant. Movement can mean forgiveness, releasing the emotional weight that holds you back. It can mean letting go of old stories. Every act of letting go is a form of movement, and every movement brings renewal. If you ever feel stuck in life, ask yourself, where am I not moving? Maybe your body has been too still. Maybe your thoughts are repeating the same cycle. Maybe your heart is holding on to what needs to be released. The answer is always to move, to take a small step, to breathe, to shift. The movement doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to begin. With time, you will notice that your emotions begin to obey your movements. You become more balanced, more aware. When sadness comes, you know how to let it flow. When anger arises, you know how to channel it. When anxiety appears, you know how to breathe through it. You stop fearing emotions because you know how to move with them. This is mastery, not through resistance, but through rhythm. Your body is your teacher. It shows you that life itself is motion. The heart beats, the lungs expand and contract, the blood flows, the earth spins. Everything moves, and as long as you are alive, you are part of that great movement. To deny it is to deny life. To embrace it is to find balance within it. So the next time your mood shifts, don't ask for it to change on its own. Move, walk, breathe, stretch, act, because every step you take is not just movement through space, it's movement through emotion. It's a reminder that you are not meant to be static, not meant to be trapped in one feeling. You are meant to flow, to evolve, to dance with life. When you understand this, you will stop waiting for peace and start creating it through motion. You will stop waiting for happiness and start expressing it through movement. You will stop waiting for clarity and start breathing it into existence. Because motion is not separate from emotion, it is emotion in action. And when you move consciously, you are no longer just reacting to life. You are shaping it, moment by moment, breath by breath, step by step. Life will always move in ways you cannot predict. People will change, situations will shift, plans will fall apart, and sometimes everything you counted on will disappear in a moment. You cannot control the winds of the world, but you can always control the way you set your sail. The world outside you is chaos, but the world within you can be peace if you choose it. This is the essence of emotional mastery, the understanding that while you cannot always control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond. Most people spend their lives trying to control the uncontrollable. They try to shape others, force circumstances, and demand that life follow their expectations. When things don't go as planned, they suffer. Their moods rise and fall with every event, as if they are puppets pulled by invisible strings. But life has its own rhythm. The rain falls when it must. The seasons change in their time. The ocean does not ask permission to wave. You too are part of this rhythm, and peace begins when you stop fighting the flow and start responding to it with awareness. When something painful happens, your first instinct may be to resist, to say, "This shouldn't have happened," but resistance traps you in suffering. Acceptance does not mean you approve of what happened. It means you stop wasting energy fighting what already is. When you accept reality, you regain power. From that place of clarity, you can decide what to do next. That is the difference between reaction and response. Reaction comes from fear. Response comes from awareness. Reaction adds more chaos. Response restores harmony. You might notice that when you react without awareness, the emotion grows stronger. Someone insults you, and you respond with anger. Suddenly, your peace is gone. Something goes wrong, and you focus on the problem. Suddenly, your energy collapses. But if you pause, breathe, and observe the moment before acting, you begin to see that you are not bound by the emotion. You can choose. That moment of choice is your freedom. Between what happens and how you respond lies your power. This power does not appear suddenly. It must be cultivated. It grows through patience, reflection, and practice. When something small annoys you, traffic, a delay, a misunderstanding, use it as training. Each moment of discomfort is an opportunity to strengthen your response. Ask yourself, can I remain calm even here? Can I choose peace instead of frustration? The more you practice in small moments, the more prepared you become for the larger storms of life. Emotional mastery is not built in silence and meditation alone. It is forged in the fire of daily challenges. The key is awareness. Without awareness, you are a prisoner of reaction. With awareness, you are the master of your response. Awareness means you see your emotion as it arises. You notice anger forming before it explodes. You feel sadness emerging before it overwhelms you. You sense fear building before it paralyzes you. When you see the emotion early, you can breathe into it, guide it, soften it. You no longer say, "I am angry." You say, "Anger is here." That small shift in language changes everything. It reminds you that emotions visit you, but they do not define you. People often believe that strength means being unaffected, never showing emotion, never feeling pain. But real strength is not the absence of feeling. It's the ability to feel deeply without being consumed by it. The one who controls their response is not cold or detached. They are fully alive but centered. They can stand in the middle of chaos and still choose kindness. They can feel the sting of disappointment and still choose hope. They can experience loss and still keep their heart open. That is power, not control over life, but control over oneself. Think of the ocean. On the surface, the waves crash and roar, but deep beneath, the water is still and quiet. That stillness is not separate from the surface. It exists within it. You, too, have that depth within you. The surface of your life may shake emotions, events, relationships, but the deeper part of you remains calm. When you live from that depth, the waves no longer throw you off balance. You can move through life's storms without losing your center. To live this way, you must practice returning to yourself in every moment. When you feel lost, come back to your breath. When you feel angry, come back to your body. When you feel anxious, come back to the present. The present moment is always still. The mind lives in stories of the past and worries about the future, but awareness lives here, now. When you anchor yourself in the now, you take back your response. You stop being controlled by what was or what might be. You act from clarity instead of chaos. There will always be moments that test you, moments when people disappoint you, when outcomes don't match your efforts, when life feels unfair. In those moments, remember, you can't control the storm, but you can control your posture in the rain. You can stand firm, breathe deeply, and trust that the storm will pass. Every difficulty carries a lesson. Every hardship holds a mirror that reflects your strength. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" That question transforms pain into purpose. When you start living with that awareness, something changes. The world no longer has the same power over you. A rude comment doesn't ruin your day. A setback doesn't break your spirit. A delay doesn't destroy your peace. You begin to see that peace is not something that life gives or takes. It's something you protect within yourself. You realize that your inner stability matters more than outer circumstances. This is freedom, not the freedom to control the world, but the freedom to not be controlled by it. Even when emotions rise, you learn to welcome them. You stop labeling them as good or bad. Anger becomes a signal that you care about justice. Fear becomes a reminder to prepare wisely. Sadness becomes an invitation to slow down and heal. When you stop fighting emotions and start listening to them, they lose their grip on you. You become the observer, the one who watches the clouds pass by without losing sight of the sky. It's not about perfection. You will still feel frustration, still make mistakes, still react at times. That's human. The difference is that you will recover faster. You'll catch yourself mid-reaction, breathe, and return to center. You'll apologize when needed, learn, and move forward. You'll stop expecting the world to change before you can find peace. You'll find peace first, and from that peace, you'll respond wisely. Life will test this understanding again and again. Someone will say something hurtful, and you'll feel anger rise. A plan will fail, and you'll feel disappointment, but each time you'll have a choice to be the storm or to be the sky behind it. And with each choice, your awareness deepens. You start realizing that emotional mastery is not about being numb, it's about being awake. There's a deep serenity that comes with this awareness. You stop rushing to fix everything. You stop demanding constant control. Instead, you move with the rhythm of life, responding, adapting, flowing. You learn to trust your ability to handle whatever comes. That trust gives you confidence, not arrogance. It gives you peace, not passivity. It allows you to move through life with grace. In time, this way of being becomes natural. You no longer waste energy resisting what you cannot change. You no longer let small things disturb your balance. You begin to live from the inside out, rather than the outside in. Your emotions serve you rather than sabotage you. You start to see that every external event is just a reflection of how you choose to interpret it. The world doesn't make you angry, your attachment to a certain expectation does. The world doesn't make you sad, your resistance to change does. The world doesn't make you afraid, your imagination of loss does. When you see this clearly, the world loses its power to control your peace. Mastery is built in silence. It's built in those moments when you choose not to react, when you choose patience over impulse, understanding over judgment, compassion over pride. Those quiet decisions shape your character. They strengthen your heart. They turn emotion into wisdom. So when the next challenge comes, and it will, pause, breathe. Remember that you do not need to control everything to be at peace. You only need to control yourself. Choose your response with awareness. Let the storm move through you without becoming it. Be steady, be still, be the calm within the chaos. And over time, you will notice something extraordinary. Life will still be unpredictable. People will still come and go. Plans will still change, but your peace will remain. Because peace does not depend on the outer world. It depends on the strength of your inner one. And when you learn to master your response, you no longer fear what happens next. You know that no matter what comes, you have the power to remain grounded, calm, and free.